it got huge. Trust me, I know you guys can tell. I know. Save it. But got this notification. This was going around tomorrow. This is going around last night, that this trade was brewing. You do look really big. Thank you. I'm assuming that's a compliment. Oh man, this was circling around last night that the Bucks were close to a trade for Kyle Kuzma. Paul with the $5. This feels very much like when the 90s Mavs traded away Kidd, Jackson, and Mashburn in short order, and they turned to a revolving door of a roster. I really hope that's not it. But here is the trade. The Milwaukee Bucks get Kyle Kuzma for Chris Middleton, A.J. Johnson, who they just drafted in the first round a year ago. Granted, that was viewed by many as a reach, so take that for what you will. For Kyle Kuzma, Patrick Baldwin Jr., and second-round draft compensation, sources tell ESPN. So a couple of things here for the Bucks of note. Obviously, losing Chris Middleton's a big deal. We'll talk about that here in a bit. But they get under the second apron with this move. There was some talks that they would maybe have to attach a first-round pick to Patrick Connaughton just to get off of him and get under that apron. They accomplished that in this trade, so they can aggregate contracts now. If they wanted to make another move, they could. Bobby Portis and Pat Connaughton's salary together and go out and make a move, whatever the case may be. They can be, players in the buyout market now. I still think that they're limited in what they can do in the buyout market, correct? Isn't that one of the first apron rules? Still limited, I believe, in what they can do in the buyout market, but they can be players in the buyout market. And they do get some second-round picks in return here. Middleton getting bought out, I assume. Well, that would be a little bit difficult considering he has a player option. I'm assuming the Wizards are probably shopping him, if I had to guess. This feels like this could be, hey, let's see if we can shop Chris Middleton between now and about 24 hours from now if a team will bite. But he has $31 million this year, $34 next year. So, yeah, maybe they go into the summer with him and see if a team would take a $34 million. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the Mavericks trade Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, P.J. Washington, Klay Thompson, and 3 first-round picks for him. That's on the table. It's potentially on the table, as well as all their seconds. So we'll see about that. But basketball-wise, I mean, Chris Middleton, it's no secret. He's been up and down this season. Now, he's had some good games, and he still looks solid offensively. It's just his lows are lower. It's a little bit more inconsistent than you would like it to be. And he's old. He's injured a lot. He's been not good at all defensively. And, just in his last 5 games, he's had 2 0-point games. But also in that stretch, he's had a 22-point game on 10 of 13 shooting, a 21-point game on 8 of 9 shooting, a 20-point game on 7 of 10 shooting. So, I mean, he's still just an ethical bucket getter. And yeah, he's probably even in this shell of him, even as a shell of himself, of which he is this season, still's been better than Kyle Kuzma. Full stop. Still better than Kyle Kuzma, who's been atrocious. Kuzma this season, 15 points, 42%. Oh, 42% from 3. That's not bad. No, 42% from the field. 28 points per game. That's pretty solid. That's really good, actually. No, 28% from 3. 60%. Oh, 60% from the field. That's great. That's like center number. 60% from the free throw line. He's been stinky. A true shooting percentage of 48%. Stinky. However, he is taller than Chris Middleton. He's bigger than Chris Middleton. He is younger than Chris Middleton. He is cheaper than Chris Middleton. He is under contract for longer than Chris Middleton. His salary goes down. So, I see the logic for the Milwaukee Bucks. This is one of those slap in the face to your fan trades, though. Chris Middleton, an icon with Milwaukee. You think Chris Middleton will get his jersey retired? I haven't really thought about that, but it's possible. I have to wonder what do Bucks fans feel about that. I agree. I think he probably should. 12 years in Milwaukee, a championship. It's possible. So it's a slap in the face to the fans to trade Chris Middleton, even in his advanced stage here of his career, and get Kyle Kuzma, who's having the worst season of his career, in return. But it does kind of make sense just from the perspective of you get under the apron, you get younger, you get cheaper, and you get some more versatility. You get some more versatility. He's at the end. I think Bucks fans would be fine with this. From what I saw on Twitter, Bucks fans are not fine with this. Bucks fans are also very upset at the inclusion of A.J. Johnson, who, I saw one specific tweet that said A.J. Johnson's has Tyrese Maxey upside. I don't know about that necessarily. Giannis apparently there were some rumors and reports going around that Giannis wanted this to happen. That Giannis personally, I can't say like trade Chris Middleton for Kuzma, but that Giannis wanted Kuzma. So they got him. It's just a very interesting trade. Just a very interesting trade. I don't think it does much at all for the Bucks, to be honest with you. It gives them a little bit more versatility, and I think that they want that. But I'm not sure. But it's also the same thing. I felt this way about PJ Washington last year. It's like it's really kind of hard to take away anything from Kuzma's season this year. Like, it's hard to take away anything from anybody on the Wizards. They're so terrible. A change of scenery could absolutely do him right. And also, he's a guy who, it's been a while now at this point. I mean, it's been, 5 years, which is a very long time in NBA time. But it's been 5 years. Only 5 years ago, he was like a really, really solid role guy on a championship winning team. Now, he was younger. Again, this is like a different life, basically. He's not watched as playing in Washington does to you. Going to be the third, fourth guy now on this Wizards team, on this Bucks team. Better spacing. Going to shoot cleaner looking threes. He's not going to be the consistent, even though Chris Middleton at this stage isn't consistent either, but I still feel more comfortable. Like, would you guys not feel more comfortable in a playoff setting if Chris Middleton has a ball in his hands and we need somebody to do something? Chris Middleton over Kuzma? I think I'd still feel better about Chris Middleton. But this opens up the door, and this has been talked about. This opens up the door for the Giannis small ball 5 lineups to make a little bit more sense with Kuzma being bigger. And yeah, Middleton potentially could be completely off the floor. I almost got centelled with this quote. This is the NBA Centel tweet. Kyle Kuzma, I taught Wizards how to win, and I'll do the same thing here with the Bucks. Oh, man. So this is from Bobby Marks. To help Milwaukee build out the roster now and in the future, Kyle Kuzma is reducing a portion of the trade bonus in his contract. The reduced trade bonus allows Milwaukee to remain below the second apron. So, good for Kyle Kuzma right there. Good for him. That's one way to endear yourself to a new fan base. Everybody getting superstars will be getting Kyle Kuzma. I'll never delete you, Twitter. I've thought about it. I'll never do it. I'll just never do it. Katie Trade Watch, hour 15. Kuzma Middleton was like being at Super Bowl party where they just handed out a gross appetizer. Give these pigs in a blanket a try. Sorry, they're so soggy. Man, what the hell's Bill Simmons yapping about? That's why we love him, man. That's why we love him. I think this could be an interesting trade. We'll see how it all pans out. Zach Lowe, we'll see what else Milwaukee does in the next 30 hours. They are under the second apron now. Kuzma's contract declines nicely for them. That's true. It is a nice contract. We talked about that when the potential Mavericks Kuzma trade was even still discussed recently. But giving up your 24 first, Johnson, who has potential already in this trade, plus Chris Middleton, plus a pick swap for a 33% three-point shooter is a lot. Oh, they give up a pick swap, huh? Where's the reporting on that? We'll see. I'm interested to see what Kuzma looks like with the Bucks. I mean, again, I don't know. I don't know how much we can realistically take away from Kuzma's time with the Wizards this season. They've just been such a fucking train wreck. Now, he has to do with that team being a train wreck. Motivated Kuz on the Bucks could be good. It could be. And also, you know, he goes from being de facto, like one of the primary guys on a team, which is gross, to now being the third or fourth guy. It definitely changes things. It changes, you know, who guards you. It changes the space you see on the basketball court. It changes the type of shots that you get, the type of defenders you attack, how the defense, you know, the type of defense that you see. You catch a pass on the wing, the defense is rotating. Now you can drive and you have an angle. Like, that all changes. So I'll say give it some time, Bucks fans. I know it sounds gross, and trust me, when it seemed almost inevitable for the Mavs, we were having to talk ourselves into it because it did seem gross. But there's ways that you can get there. There's ways that you can talk yourself into it. At least the Wizards GM didn't publicly call Kuzma a fat, lazy slob after the trade this morning. There's still time. There's still time. Just wait. Yeah, shout out to Kyle Kuzma. He's a little fat, a little fat guy. We call him Fatty. Shout out to Fatty. We're gonna miss him in his time here. I mean, God, they turned into like Nico Harrison turned into Donald Trump, and we traded Luka. We call him Fatso. Fatso. Real fat guy. That Luka Doncic. We call him Fatty. My plans for John Horst if I see a Kyle Kuzma notification.
And murder. Rape and murder.
All right. Okay. Fatty Luka, folks. He's real fat. Also, Kuzma needs to buy Cuban needs to buy the Mavs back quickly. You guys think Cuban's got money like that? Cuban does not have money to buy the team back. Dude, Kuzma's shooting splits this season are atrocious. 42, 28, and 60. Bro. That's like a Wilt Chamberlain stat line they expect us to believe. That's not even like... just like a Wilt Chamberlain stat line. My coworker really thinks Luke is coming back in free agency. I wish I was that delusional. Yeah, he ain't. Middleton in a wheelchair is better than Kuzma. I get it from the perspective of they get under the apron now and they get younger and a friendlier contract. Sometimes that stuff matters. It's the Grimes Caleb Martin trade. I'm going to go out on the limb and say the Mavs are going to lose to the Celtics. So did you see reports Stephen A. Smith might actually run in 2028? What was my prediction for him this year? I predicted that he leaves ESPN to join one of the major news networks. No, they're not going to trade Kuzma. Like, they brought him in. They wanted him. How do you think Miles Bridges is as a player? Like, why he could be good for some team which is contending, right? Miles Bridges is so weird because I don't know which teams are lining up to go after a guy like that for a lot of different reasons. The Bucks are no longer a second-neighbor team. They can now aggregate salaries and trades if they choose to. Some tradable players and their salaries. Bobby Portis, $12.5 million. Pat Connaughton, $9.4. Marion Beauchamp, $2.7. You can get into the 20s pretty easily. And that 2031 pick is probably pretty interesting. I just don't know who they'd bring back in return. I would have loved for them to go and get Zach LaVine, but I don't know how possible that was necessarily. But from a basketball standpoint, it gives the Bucks a little bit more positional versatility, which can be important. I think Chris Middleton is still at this point a better player than Kyle Kuzma. I'm interested to see what happens with Chris Middleton. Like, surely he doesn't ride out the season on the Wizards, right? That would suck. That would be unfortunate. But also, Chris Middleton, he's got that $30+ million player option at the end of the season. Like, he's going to want to pick that up. He's not getting that anywhere else. You're going to see a lot of teams making purely financial moves in the coming day. Yeah, I mean, this, like going back to that Caleb Martin, Quentin Grimes trade. Tim Jenkins with a 5. I've seen people mad at this trade. Kuz is better than Middleton at this point. I don't know about that. Kuzma not a great first or second option, but third option, oh yes. I think he'll be better. His efficiency will almost certainly increase on the Bucks, and his just size gives him a little bit more versatility defensively. But I mean, it's not a trade to get like uber excited about. But there's trades where it's like the Caleb Martin for Quentin Grimes trade. I tweeted out that I liked the trade. Then I tweeted out my rationale for it. Then I had people like, dude, watch more basketball, bro. Caleb Martin hasn't been great defensively this season. I don't think you guys understand why I like the fucking trade, even though I laid out exactly why the fuck I said I like the trade. They get more versatility defensively, trading from a position of redundancy. And they get a guy who's under contract for the next 4 years versus a guy you have to pay in restricted free agency who you might not feel comfortable with his price point. Caleb Martin is an alcoholic. Well, the Mavs just traded the last alcoholic who was here, so his days are probably numbered. Aaron with the $4.99. Thoughts on Middleton buyout than signing with a contender like the Nuggets? Explain to me, I guess I'd have to have the buyout rules explained to me like a toddler again, because they buy out his contract for this year, right? It's not hard to understand they didn't want to pay Quentin Grimes. I don't know if that's like they didn't want to pay Quentin Grimes. More so, him hitting restricted free agency scared them a little bit. And if that number got 12, 15, if a desperate team threw like a 20 out there, then you don't want to pay that, and that's it. Thoughts on people named Anthony? I like Anthony as a name, I do. I like the versatility of Anthony. Go by Ant. I mean, Ant is sick. Ant is a sick thing to go by. So, like, okay, so Chris Middleton, if you buy out his $31 million this year, all right, fine. But what about the $34 million on the books for next year? Because he wants that money. I've only known NBA players go by Ant. I'm going by Ant if my name's Anthony. NBA buyout rules. How exactly does a buyout work? So they would only have to pay him what usually the player agrees is some small reduction in the amount they are owed, often equal to the prorated minimum vet salary at the time of waivers. The team pays the rest and waives them. They are then free agents who can sign with any team and typically do so for the veteran minimum. The team saves some money and the player gets to go elsewhere. The player makes the same total money between the old team and the new team. The problem, though, is there's the $34 million player option that Chris Middleton is not opting out of under any circumstances. You can't be the fucking guy to go by Ant if you're Anthony. It's creme de la creme of Anthony nicknames. Yeah, you got to pull it off and rock it, and I'd fucking rock it. I mean, are you joking? Would you like Dart as a middle name or nickname? Dart as a middle name? Sure. Dart's actually kind of a sick middle name, although sounds kind of like real country. What's your name? Dart. All my friends call me Dart. Okay. What's your name? Gunner. What about your name? Harley. You said you go by Ant if your name was Anthony, but why don't you go by Slight since your name is Slightly? I go by a lot of different monikers. Those are tough names. Kirk is going crazy. Still? Glock. What's my name? Glock. What's Kirk saying? Kirk gonna go crazy for the next 3 years? Yeah. I don't know if you noticed, but does it seem like the Mavericks are getting rid of every white dude on their roster? Sorry if that's a racist question. Haven't really noticed. So let's see how this plays out. I'm here for Kuzma. I think I'll give it some time. I'll some people are writing this off immediately. Let's give it some time to see how this all works out. I think his efficiency will tick up for sure with the Bucks. Is it enough to push them over, to really move the needle for them? You're writing that off heavily? I'm using a pencil. I'm not using a pen. I'm ready to erase at any given moment. But we shall see.